So, what day is it today?
Tuesday?
Wrong. It's NWA Day.
They want NWA? Let's give them NWA.
I was thinking that it might be a good idea if you and I formed an alliance.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Attention, everyone. Welcome to the greatest wrestling program in the world.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? Stop what you're doing and listen.
Okay, let's party.
It's the pre-party with 𝙍𝙬𝙍𝙍.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the pre-party, a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance. My name is 𝙍𝙬𝙍𝙍, and each and every Tuesday, I come to you, this hashtag NWA fam, to talk all things pro wrestling on YouTube, TikTok, Twitch, Kick. Yeah, I said it. What are you going to do about it? Nothing. That's what. Anyways, this is the Alliance blog. This is the pre-party. And every Tuesday, we talk about the National Wrestling Alliance. And today is no different because it's a big day for the NWA. Of course, last Tuesday, we saw the crowning of a new World's Heavyweight Champion for the first time in the Lightning One era. There is a world champion that has zero connection to the WWE, zero connection to TNA Wrestling. For the first time in forever, we have a World's Heavyweight Champion who is a pure NWA homegrown talent. And that's entirely wild to me. That's crazy. It's so insane to think about that because it's been such a long time coming. Now we're having some issues here on the live stream because I can't even see you guys' chat. So we'll have to do it the old-fashioned way. And you'll have to forgive me if I don't see what you guys are chatting about because you get this, but you look like Kevin James. That I don't ever get that. Thanks, I guess. I guess Kevin James. All right. Look, there's so much worse to be called. So very much worse. Willie Bowen says, "Hey, 𝙍𝙬𝙍𝙍, Tyrus is going to be in the sequel to his movie, The Septic Commander." What? What? The Septic Commander? All right. I guess. And you guys know, I think he did mean Kevin James. I think he did mean Kevin James. I think he was having some fun. The chat is not working on the studio. Oh, you did mean Kevin Owens. Okay, because I thought you'd just be like irreverent. Like sometimes people come in here and say, "Oh, you look like the great Khali. Oh, you look like Mark Henry." And it's like, oh, okay, ha. But Kevin James, I think, is kind of funny. A lot of comments here in the chat from our pal Chris Gallegos. We'll try to get to all of those, and we'll try to get to all of your guys' chat. And we're still taking your comments on TikTok live as well. We're all over the place. So first and foremost, we got Chris Gallegos saying Ricochet is going to be a loser AEW national champion. Look, at this point, man, I think too many people are too concerned about that national title with the NWA, with AEW. I mean, at the end of the day, what AEW doesn't really have an impact on the National Wrestling Alliance and vice versa. I mean, let's be perfectly honest. The NWA is small potatoes when it comes to All Elite Wrestling. And yeah, I'm an NWA fan first. In fact, I enjoy the NWA. I watch it every week, and I talk about it on like 3 hours of podcasting every week. But let's not confuse things. AEW is seen by a national audience. AEW tours. AEW is the second biggest wrestling promotion in the United States. So their reintroduction of the national championship, or their introduction to their national championship, has no bearing on what the NWA does. And I do not believe that Tony Khan didn't know that there was an NWA national championship. I just don't think he cared. And that's okay. He doesn't have to care. I always thought it was kind of weird how the NWA refused to bring back the North American Championship because NXT had a North American title. But that was the NWA's choice. There was no one saying, hey, you can't bring back that North American title. They just opted not to. You got to remember, the NWA North American Championship was actually featured on Monday Night Raw back in like 1998. Jeff Jarrett, Justin Bradshaw Layfield, I think they just called him Justin Hawk back then. Barry Windham, They all competed for that North American Championship. And did that take away from NXT when they decided to make their North American title? Was the market confused? I'm not confused. I don't know why anyone would be confused. You know, inevitably, how many promotions out there have a TV title? You know, AEW called theirs the TBS title or the TNT title. But at the end of the day, they're a secondary title. It's the same thing as a TV title. It's just, you know, the American, the U.S. Championship or the Intercontinental Championship. Those are two different ways of saying North America, right? Intercontinent, North America, South America. I mean, what are we talking about? So why does it matter what AEW calls their title? It doesn't really infringe on the history of the national title in the NWA. And let's be honest, what Tony was paying homage to was the title that was held on TBS back in the early 80s, which was unified with the U.S. title in Jim Crockett Promotions that became the WCW U.S. title, which is now the WWE U.S. title. So if anything, Tony Khan's paying homage to Jim Crockett Promotions and WCW, and by virtue of buying and selling the WWE U.S. Championship. So I'm not going to get hung up on that. I don't think it's a big deal. I get a lot of people do, and that's fine, but it's not something I'm going to get worked up over or overly concerned about. I just don't think it's that big of a deal. Honestly, it isn't to me. You know, it was kind of neat for the NWA because they were able to take advantage of some of the controversy, and they were able to get, you know, the court of public opinion talking about the NWA. But at the end of the day, it just wasn't enough to really do anything. Now, Chris Gallegos, I just did all that, but I will read your comments. Ricochet is going to be a loser AEW national champion. The NWA national title is a traditional championship belt that represents pride and tradition, something AEW doesn't know shit about. Old school wrestling. AEW is shit. Those are the words of Chris Gallegos, not your words of J. Cal. This is Kevin Owens, and you're watching the Disney Channel. Dun, 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 dun. I don't necessarily agree that AEW is shit because the guy who is the world heavyweight champion in AEW is Samoa Joe, who I think is probably the best wrestler today. And I can make an argument that he's better than your favorite wrestler. So I get it. I get what you're saying, but I don't agree with you. Steve G's in the chat. What's up, Steve? The national title dates back to Ric Flair, Gino Hernandez, The Sheik, and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, and Blackjack Mulligan in the 70s. AEW doesn't know about anything about the old school wrestling. It's a shindy garbage promotion. I hope the NWA sues AEW over their ass in court over the national title. Jackson, thanks for the follow. Say my name, Mr. Papadopoulos joined. Thanks for that. The thing about it, though, Chris, is apparently Billy Corgan's okay with it. Apparently, they've had a conversation. At least that's what Tony Khan said recently on the Ariel Helwani show. So if Billy doesn't have a problem with it, I don't think you should either. This young generation is destroying the legacy that have paved the way for wrestling to survive. I never want AEW to succeed. It doesn't deserve to succeed. It's 100% garbage and trash. Okay, Chris, I'm not just going to keep reading the comments about you killing on AEW. I get it. I think everyone in the chat gets it. You don't like AEW. Cool, man. Get it. Understood. But let's move on. Yeah? I mean, there's a lot more to talk about in pro wrestling than how much you hate AEW. Hey, Chris, you hate AEW. Willie Bowen hates the WWE. Cool. We do talk NWA in this chat. Let's talk about the NWA. The first NWA jabroni since Tim Storm to win the 10 pounds of gold. Finally, we're on the good track. Just wish it's not a delayed announcement. Yeah, you know, and that's the thing that sucks, Dodie, again, with the taping schedule, the way it is for the National Wrestling Alliance. It's hard, man. It's hard being a fan. It's hard getting excited when there's a 3-month delay. And the other part of that is sucks for Thrillbilly because he's had this title for 3 months and has been able to do nothing with it. And again, the short turnaround time for the NWA, you know, they just had WWE just featured Matt Cardona, Zack Ryder. Woo, woo, woo. Zack Ryder was on SmackDown as part of the whole This Is the Last Time tournament. And it sucks that the NWA couldn't capitalize off that momentum, right? The NWA have a tape in the mat, have a match in the can with Matt Cardona challenging for the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship, but they can't even use it. Not until like January. But if they could have aired that match after the SmackDown where Cardona appeared, like it would have looked at least to the novice viewer that the NWA is on the cusp of being what's hot and hip. They were able to have Matt Cardona right after he was on SmackDown. Well, that's not the case. That match was actually filmed in October, but we won't see it until January. So again, I agree with what Doty said. It's just the delay. It's always going to kill it. Chris Gallegos says the NWA World Title is the prize of tradition and legacy. I agree, Chris. I do love the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. That's why I got it right here, Daddy. Look at this. 10 pounds of gold. It's so pretty. And it's signed by some of the greatest world champions of our era. I mean, AJ Styles, Ric Flair, Harley Race, Trevor Murdoch, Nick Aldis, Tim Storm, Jax Dane, Blue Demon Jr., Jeff Jarrett, just to name a few. Satoshi Kojima, yeah? Raven, yeah? Some good names on that list. Sting was supposed to be on it. I was supposed to get Christian Cage to sign it. Sabu was supposed to sign it, but he didn't show up to the show, and then he passed away a year later. Such is life. Happy Thanksgiving to you too, Steve or Chris. I really hope it's a good one. Actually, happy Thanksgiving to anyone that's listening. The Richest Junkie. Who is the mystery opponent? I don't know who LA Knight's mystery opponent is. I'm gonna watch, I guess on well, I won't see it. I'll have to read the spoilers later. Doty says AEW sucks, but wishing this or that promotion is unwise. Plenty of people are relying their life and bread on them, but enough of AEW talking. Time to talk NWA. Billy sucks. That's right. That's right, Doty. I don't know if you've ever seen Naturo, but Mercedes Moné handing out belts gave me Nine Tail vibes. Theo, I do not watch Naturo, but yeah, I it's kind of crazy how many belts they put on old Mercedes Moné. And I'm look, I like Mercedes Moné, and I know I'm in the minority. I think she's a great talent, and I think she deserves to have all the titles. At what point is too much, you know? I'm ready for NWA Power tonight. I think NWA Power is going to be a good episode tonight. We've got 3 title matches as well as a tag team match. The Night Sin, Austin Idol's tag team, Frank and Zion taking on the team of shoot, I forgot. I'll have to look it up. I have it right here. It'll be the team of Tyler Franks from Crossfire and the Italian Excellence Cristiano Argentino from Exodus Pro. That'll be fun. Maybe. Stephen Willie, what's up, my Power Bros? Yeah, let's talk Power. Rest in peace, Bob Caudle. Bob Caudle passing away. You know, as we all get older, we're going to see some of the legendary voices and wrestlers and entertainers of our passion, you know, pass away. And it's sad. It sucks. And it makes me sad. It really does. Bob Caudle hadn't been on regular wrestling programming in probably a decade, maybe even more. And I'm sad that he passed away, but also at the same time, like, nobody lives forever. And it's a heartbreaker. But, you know, hopefully he's not suffering. Hopefully he went quickly and painless. And may his family remember and remember the good times, and hopefully don't have a lot of grief with his passing. Really hard to eulogize some of these people from yesteryear. Like, I didn't have that connection with Bob Caudle. He was around, obviously, in the Jim Crockett promotions and the NWA back in the 80s and 90s, but I was not super familiar with Bob Caudle growing up. My guys were Jim Ross. I would see, I grew up in a WWE area. The Southern California was more of a WWE era than an NWA area. But all that being said, it sucks. Chris, no, you don't have to subscribe to this channel. You don't have to pay to subscribe to this channel. All Ghost Champions suck. Let's see. Hogan sucks. Happy early Thanksgiving. Thanks you, Sam. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, everybody. That one hit me hardest was Don West. Yeah, Don West passing was tough because a lot of us were already of the adult age when Don West passed. He was the voice of TNA. Plus, if you grew up watching the Shopping Network or things like that, he was always selling the baseball cards and kind of cool stuff on TV. So his voice was very pronounced. And we knew who Don West was outside of pro wrestling. But yeah, look, it sucks when anyone passes away. And it always will suck. And it'll never not suck when someone passes away. But inevitably, we're all going to go at some point. And that's the realest thing I could say to you. Lana Cross and Allie Katch and Rosemary should be on NWA Wrestling Women's roster. Yeah, I mean, look, the NWA certainly needs to grow the women's division. Like, we see hints at it. They brought in the Hex back to the NWA for the Saul Wynn show, but who knows if they're going to be around. It's really weird how it all works out. Su Yung, I feel like Su Yung would be perfect for the NWA, mostly because she has the notoriety, but doesn't seem to be locked in anywhere. And for those of you who grew up with, Gordon Soley or Bob Caudle or Jim Ross, remember, some of us grew up with Jerry the King Lawler and Jim Ross. Some of us grew up with Tony Schiavone and Jim Ross. Some of us grew up with Gorilla Monsoon and Jesse the Body Ventura, or Vince McMahon and Bobby the Brain Heenan. Like, all of that is good. Serena Vale. Yeah, Serena Vale, I think she was a product of Crossfire Wrestling. So, we're starting to see some of the territory talent get picked up and put in that main spot. Where am I? I'm in Southern California in the beautiful Inland Empire. Oh, shit. They're calling me Kevin Owens again. Dick Lane. Yes, Dick Lane, voice of the Angels. No, not the Angels. Dick Lane was the voice of roller derby. Bobby the Weasel Heenan. Nice. I definitely grew up on King and Junior. Yeah, and they were great. I love Jim Ross and JR. J-Ra. I've been doing this for too long. I grew up. I started watching wrestling in 1985. I did not see the first WrestleMania live, but I saw the second one live, and subsequently saw almost the next 20 WrestleManias live after that. At some point, I kind of quit watching WrestleManias as much as I used to, but I now watch them every year. I grew up with watching Jim Crockett Promotions, WCW, whatever you want to call it, and I got that a lot too. I watched, so I would see all these guys. Jesse the Body had worked for both, and Tony Schiavone had worked for both, and Jerry Lawler worked for WWE, and JR worked for both. And you saw these guys all work everywhere. And yeah, and there's kids growing up right now that are looking at Michael Cole as the voice of pro wrestling, Win Hippie said I look like KO, and I get that quite a bit. What do you think about Jim Cornette's exchange with Ricochet? I'll be honest, I did not see any of it. I haven't been on X in a while, so I didn't see it. Well, I was born in 99. I think I saw my first show in 2003. I was born in 78. My birthday's in 3 days. This guy is an old dude. Chris Gallegos. 1985 was when WWF and the Rock and Wrestling Connection took off. Yeah, I was, Chris, that's what I grew up with. I remember watching the Hulk Hogan cartoon, with Everybody Loves Raymond's brother as the voice of Hulk Hogan. And Willie Bone goes back to 66. Yeah, Dick Lane was the voice of the Olympic Auditorium. Now, I was too young for the Olympic Auditorium. The auditorium didn't come into fruition until after I was already, let me say that differently. Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, the NWA Hollywood, wrestling from the Grand Olympic Auditorium was already gone by the time I got into pro wrestling. It was already done. So as much as I wish I could have watched more of it, I wish I could have participated in it. I wish I could have went to those live events at the Grand Olympic. The fact of the matter is it was gone. So it was very cool for me to be at the first ECW West Coast pay-per-view when they did their live event at the Grand Olympic. I got to see wrestling at the Grand Olympic before it became a church. And I also got to see the XPW run an event at the Grand Olympic Auditorium. And that was not quite a favorable experience, but it was an experience nonetheless. Retro said my first TV show was WCW Saturday Night, late 95, 96. Yeah, and Retro, like in 95, 96, I was in high school, man. I was 95, 96, I was very much enjoying the cruiserweight division in WCW, the NWO, the Wolfpack, you know. And before that, you had Glacier and Blood Runs Cold gimmick with Wrath and that whole thing. Mortis. That's good stuff. And Chris, I don't have an answer for you as to why Mid-South Wrestling was canceled on WTBS, but I just, you know, they did what they wanted to do. Who 𝙍𝙬𝙪 on TikTok said, wow, you've seen so much then, man. Who's been your favorite, most memorable heel? Steve, I agree with you on that one. My favorite heel, man, that's such a good question. I always felt like Jake the Snake was a really good heel, right? I feel like Jake the Snake Roberts was he was so good at playing such a bad guy. You know, my favorite wrestler today is Samoa Joe, who is right now a heel, but he can be everything. Samoa Joe is one of the most versatile wrestlers, and I think that's what makes him so unique and amazing to me. The person that people think I look like, Kevin Owens, is also one of these guys that can do everything. You can make him a babyface. You can make him a heel. Samoa Joe right now feels like a mafia boss, and I feel like that's pretty badass. And there isn't another guy like Samoa Joe, so it's kind of hard to say like who's better. Ric Flair was a great heel. The Horsemen was a great heel group. Willie Bowen brings up Gino Hernandez, and Gino Hernandez was also a phenomenal talent, taken away way too soon. Gino Hernandez, his demons got the best of him, but had he still been alive today, I feel like Gino Hernandez could have been a huge star. If he would have gotten to the WWE before he passed away, he would have been a huge, huge star. All right, so we're about half an hour into the live. Oh, 𝙍𝙬𝙪 says, I really like JBL and Randy Orton heel runs as well. Yeah, JBL was a great heel for the WWE, and I really feel like Eddie Guerrero was even more beloved because of JBL's was such a shitty heel. You know, I feel like that always, you know, like another really great heel is the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. And WWF, WWE being that kind of a heel, like it really just gave you a reason to hate somebody. And similarly, like that's how Ric Flair was in WCW or in the NWA. He was a world's heavyweight champion. So not only did he have the finest cars, the finest women, he was limousine riding, jet flying, women kissing, champagne drinking, son of a gun. He'd sit there and take off his watch. He'd take off his sports coat. His shoes cost more than your car. I mean, that was pretty badass. And you had Flair just cutting these promos on these guys, you know, and then they would do guys dirty like Dusty Rhodes that break his arm out in the parking lot or you know, every time it looked like Lex Luger was going to win the title, you know, the Horseman would get an interfere. It was really good, and it would really create a lot of animosity, and the fans would hate him. Some people would love the Horseman, but by and large, the fans hated him. Johnny Robbie. There you go, Steve. Taking it to the old school to the new school. Johnny Robbie. Gino Hernandez as a member of the Horsemen would have worked. It would have worked. I think Gino would have been great as a Horseman. What's up, Trouble Vigilante? As far as a fan, that's a little bit too young for the 80s, but studies in the best territories were world-class championship wrestling, Florida, Memphis, and the Mid-Atlantic. Mid-Atlantic was good. Mid-South was good. World-class was really, really good. I mean, World-class was one of the first wrestling promotion that was, like, pirated. The signal was pirated, and it was, like, playing in Israel. That's just weird to me. Sam Retro says, I wanted to work in any career to dress like Flair as a kid. I effing loved Ric Flair. Hey, I mean, Ric Flair was the best, man. He was the epitome of success. And again, he was always world champion. If he lost the title, he'd win the title back. It was never if Flair was going to become champion. It was like, when is Flair going to become champion? Yeah, Flair was probably, there was no other icon bigger than Ric Flair. Gino Hernandez versus Barry Windham would have been a feud to draw money. Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, I don't know if I could get into that dynamic. I feel like Gino Hernandez, Barry Windham was such a big guy. I think he would have dwarfed Gino. And it's kind of like Barry and Tully, right? Like Barry and Tully as a feud. I don't know. I don't know if I'd get it, if I could have gotten into that. Like, to me, Tully and Gino are almost interchangeable. And I don't mean that as an insult to either one. Tully was awesome, but so was Gino. But yeah, I mean, like Gino and Chris Adams could have been, you could have put Gino and Chris Adams in the Horsemen, and I think they would have worked just fine. Ric Flair's the best wrestler to ever put boots on. Yeah, I mean, how could you argue that? How could someone look me in the eye and tell me Ric Flair is not the greatest wrestler of all time? Like, you can't. You can't. There's a lot of great wrestlers around today. There's a lot of great wrestlers from around the world today. Flair did it at a time and place where no one else could do what he did. Was he in the right place at the right time? Probably. But he worked his ass off for it. Never cared for DiBiase. Barry Windham versus Gino Hernandez. Two Texans would battle as the Wild West shootout. All right. Trouble is wrong. John Cena is the GOAT. All right, fair enough. John Cena is the GOAT. Stephanie McMahon to have AJ Lee on her podcast. AJ Lee says no one is going to go through. Jason, I don't know if you're going to write more, but I need to read more. Anyways, tonight is NWA Power. Of course, you can watch the in-demand episode. It's available right now. You can go to your Roku app, go to National Wrestling Alliance, just type it in. You can watch Power right now, and you would see 4 matches this week. And of course, I believe the preliminary match would be Austin Idol's Nightmare Syndicate, or Nightmare Sin, excuse me, as they square off against the Territory Stars in Tyler Franks and the Italian Excellence Christiano Argento. And I feel like that's going to be a nice showcase match for for Frank and for Sion, because those two really, they're kind of floundering. I don't know what the NWA needs to do to make these guys feel relevant, but they haven't been relevant in quite some time. We get Bryan Idol, the self-proclaimed needle mover, defending the NWA Television Championship against Slade. Slade has been one of the biggest surprises for the NWA. And if you guys don't follow the NWA, you really should check out Spencer Slade. He is hearing impaired. He wrestles with headgear similar to how Rick Steiner used to wrestle back with WCW and the NWA. And he is a legitimate collegiate wrestler. And when he gets in there, he will make you think of the Steiner brothers. He will make you think of some of the best amateur wrestlers who made that transition to pro wrestling, like Kurt Angle, like Rick Steiner, like Mike Rotunda. And Slade is considered a junior heavyweight for all intents and purposes, but the guy's solid. He's built like a statue. And he's somebody I want to see. So Polar Marky, thanks for the rose. Paula V23, thank you for the love so much. Appreciate that. And I can't wait to see Slade, Aron Stevens' Slade, take on Bryan Idol tonight, because Idol is a different kind of. Thank you for the follow. I feel like Idol is a different kind of cat. I'm not a big fan of Idol's work. I'm not a big fan of his promos. His wrestling is, to me, substandard. He takes a lot of unnecessary risks. So you put him in the ring with somebody like Slade, who's going to try to control the match with mat wrestling. We're going to see a styles clash for sure. And, normally styles clashes make for interesting matches. So I'm hoping that this is going to be a real interesting match this week. We're also going to see the newly acquired tag team champions, Odinson and Kratos, take on the Colóns, Epico and Primo. Those are the cousins of Carlitos, Caribbean Cool. And I'm so excited to see the tag team division kick up a notch in the NWA. Of course, Murknox has now semi-hiatus, right? Because Knox got hurt. Knox got hurt on Power last week. I don't know if you guys paid attention to it, but his arm was injured. And I spoke to Knox after that event, actually back in August, and he had a sling. His arm was in a sling. He was unable to wrestle the appearance he was supposed to. And when I spoke to him, he said that they were considering surgery, but he was considering all of the options and might have passed on surgery and hoping to just work through it, which I don't know which is a better way to go about doing that. I feel like either one of those is kind of a recipe for a long recovery time. So hopefully he can get what he needs to get healthy again. In the meantime, I wouldn't mind seeing Trevor Murdoch go on some side quests himself. And the Discord, our good friend Kayfabe Soup mentioned a TV title run for the former world champion Trevor Murdoch, and I think that'd be a lot of fun. But I don't know what's next for Trevor. We know that he'll be taking on Hammerstone at the Saul Win signature live event, which again we probably won't see until January, maybe February. And in the main event, we have the number one contender for the junior heavyweight championship, Damian Fenrir, defend or challenge Alex Taylor for the world junior heavyweight championship. Now, Fenrir won this opportunity at the 77th anniversary show by winning the King B match. The King B match is kind of a weird concept that you have a 6-person tag team match. You have 3-on-3, and then the winner of that match, they'll have a triple threat between the 3 competitors, and whoever wins that match was declared the winner. And of course, Fenrir was teaming with Slade and also I forgot his name. Doesn't matter because he lost. And they were taking on the team of the lost Alex Misery, Lev, and Crazy Steve. Crazy Steve and Lev are a fantastic tag team. The lost, I would like to see them, Alex Misery and Alex Misery and Crazy Steve team more frequently down the road. But yeah, we saw Damian Fenrir win that triple threat, and Fenrir looks like a stud. I want to see more Damian Fenrir in the NWA. Luke Curtis, that was the other gentleman's name. Luke Curtis, Damian Fenrir, and Slade all won that match, and then the triple threat match, resulting in Fenrir getting the victory. So that'll be the main event. At least I think it's going to be the main event for the junior heavyweight championship. And, there's not a lot of junior heavyweight wrestling going on these days. The NWA seems to be really the only place in the U.S. that has a big-time junior heavyweight division. Alex Taylor has held that title for well over, I think, 1,000 days now. And he's been a very good champion. He's defended it all over the United States. I believe he had a few defenses in Australia as well. And I can't wait to see what's next for Alex Taylor and the junior heavyweight title. But ultimately, we know that there's a showdown between Slade and Taylor coming soon to the NWA. As Jackson said, what are we talking about? We're talking about this week's Power, because it's the Power before Thanksgiving. And again, historically, Thanksgiving has always been a big wrestling night for the NWA, going back to Jim Crockett Promotions and the annual Starrcade event that would happen in the Carolinas commemorating the NWA. We had the Skywalkers, we had Ric Flair defending the title against Dusty Rhodes. The I Quit match between Tully and Magnum TA. But let's get back to the chat. I was watching 100% Wrestling from Argentina on a network from Buenos Aires, Argentina. Chris Gallegos, if you have the ability, send me a link to that. I'm very interested in seeing Wrestling from Argentina. Going back to Chris Adams, Sam Retro said Tully said on commentary that Chris Adams should have been a horseman on one of the NWA Dallas tapings in 95. The NWA Dallas lasted from 94 and 95, and it was almost like a spinoff from ECW. NWA Dallas was a territory founded by Jim Crockett Jr. After the contract the contract that they sold when Jim Crockett Promotions sold JCP to Ted Turner, who rechristened the company as WCW, there was a no compete clause for the Crockett family. So the Crockett family had to wait a few years before they could do anything in wrestling outside of WCW, and they did, and they started the NWA Dallas in '94, and that was kind of I'm not saying it was financially backed, but it was the same group who did NWA Dallas ended up eventually doing ECW, working with ECW. Excuse me. Wrestle Rant wants to remind everyone that Dusty Rhodes did a commercial for Mellow Yellow for the NWA. Yeah, back in the day, those Mellow Yellow commercials, I don't remember seeing them live, but I have seen them over the years. And Dusty was a great pitch man. He should have still been the voice for Mellow Yellow until he passed away. Steve G brings up the fact that what about Magnum if he wouldn't have had his accident? I don't know, man. Magnum TA is a very interesting guy, right? Because Magnum TA could have been like the next Hulk Hogan. And there was rumors, speculation that before Vince settled on Terry Bollea, Hulk Hogan, that he tried to get Kerry Von Erich. He tried to get Magnum TA. He tried to get a lot of people to be his next, his project, which later would become Hulk Hogan. I don't know if you could believe those rumors or not. It's a lot of speculation, but it seems to me that would have made a lot of sense. Vince was looking to go national. He was taking that brand to the next level, and he did. I mean, he acquired a lot of stars. Jimmy Snuka was already working for the WWF office at the time. He's working in that Northeast office, but Junkyard Dog was from the Mid-South area, and they brought Rick Martel in. They had brought in Tito Santana. I mean, they brought a lot of guys in from across the country, and they had no problem picking up talents from the other territories. And that was both a good move and a bad move because it hurt the territories and it brought big names to the WWE, and it made it seem like a much bigger deal. When they were touring nationally, they had stars in every territory they went to. It's not like John Tolos was a young man at that point, so it wasn't like he was wrestling there. But Freddie Blassie was had a manager role in WWF in those days, and they did what they could to hurt the territories and help grow their brand. So I always think that Magnum TA could have been like the next Hulk Hogan. We never really would have known. We never really will know, But Magnum should have been a huge superstar in pro wrestling, and that fateful motorcycle accident really messed it up. Yes, the Colóns, the same Colóns that own Puerto Rico and run WWC. Alex Taylor had a recent defense in Canada for Reaper Wrestling. I think he also defended the title in the UK as well. I believe him and Thrillbilly went to, I want to say the UK. I don't know if it was Scotland or England or where exactly, but they did a series of matches out there as well. TA walks so Hangman Page could run. That's a good one, Wrestle Rant. I was also watching Brett Sawyer bleed in Portland wrestling in '83, bleeding like mask still standing. Yeah, Portland doesn't get enough credit. It should have gotten a lot more. Portland was a big territory for the NWA back in the '80s, and that was the first place where Scott Levy really came to prominence. Scott Levy, Scotty the Body, Scotty Flamingo, aka Raven. That's where he got his start. Roddy Piper was a big deal in Portland. But Piper was one of these guys that was a big deal everywhere. He worked in Jim Crockett Promotions. He worked for the WWF. He worked for Portland. I mean, he was everywhere. Willie says Magnum TA was never going to leave the NWA Pro Wrestling, Jim Crockett Promotions for that lousy WWF. I don't know, man. Wrestle Rant says, I'm totally convinced Darby Allin is the long-lost brother to Raven. Maybe it's his son. I mean, I think that age-wise would work. I wouldn't be surprised. They have a new Portland wrestling reviving. Yeah, I saw that. They actually reached out to the Southern California wrestling community looking for talents up and down the West Coast to come to Portland. And I'm all for it, man. I feel like it would be a very cool idea to see if we could do it again. But, they did this before. There was the West Coast Wrestling Company a couple years ago. Before that, there was the I forgot what it was called. Portland Wrestling Unplugged or something like that. I feel like with the right people running it, something big could happen, but we haven't seen it yet. Starrcade 83 was the best pay-per-view event. I have somewhere, probably up here, I have like a old Starrcade 2-set VHS tape, the VHS tape, the best of Starrcade. And yeah, I have some fond memories of those pay-per-views. Silas Mason started in Portland. Yeah, I don't know where Silas Mason officially got started at, but he was wrestling in Portland and he was wrestling for Future Stars of Wrestling in Vegas. In fact, if I look it up, because now I'm curious. Now you got my head itching for some information. Let's see, Silas Mason, the Thrillbilly. It's hard to believe that Silas Mason's only 33 too. He's still very young. Holy shit! Yeah, he did a lot of Portland stuff. He started off in 2015. Huh, that's crazy. DOA with in Oregon. BC. He worked the NWA, BCW in Oregon. A lot of WCW. WCWC did some stuff in Eureka, California with IHWE. Oh, wow. He wrestled Mikey O'Shea. Did not know that. Huh. Gangrel. And then he got hurt. He had to take some time off. And then in 2016, he ended up wrestling in Portland or in Kingsport, Tennessee. And then the Mid-South stuff. Yeah. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Let's see. Who did you train him, though? Derek Dexel, Dr. Cleaver, and Jeremy Blanchard. Oh, Jeremy Blanchard, I think, is from Portland. The Prince of Memphis. Okay, maybe not. Wild. Dr. Cleaver. Anyways, so we are getting, of course, tonight's Power again is going to be a big title match night. We're going to see a lot of talents, a lot of titles being defended tonight, and I'm looking forward to it. And I'm curious as who do you want to see next on Power? Steve G said Willie, that was the promotion that Eddie Gilbert Sting Warrior came from in Florida. NWA Championship Wrestling from Florida before that. Sam Retro said, I threw Thrilly's name in there. Yeah, that would be cool if they brought him in, man. Because, like, look, let's be honest. Thrillbilly Silas Mason, you know, he just won the World's Heavyweight Championship. I mean, it was back on TV it was filmed back in August. He's had one title defense. He's supposed to have another one coming up soon in the NWA for Joe Kazana Promotions. I'm not sure who he's defending the title against just yet, but this is a long time coming. Thrillbilly Silas Mason is the first NWA champion that has no connection to the past of the WWE. You know, I know Tim Storm as well, but you know, Tim Storm was kind of a leftover from the previous owners. And I'm not trying to poo-poo on Tim Storm. Like he did a great job of what he was supposed to do. But you know, the NWA and having this world's heavyweight champion, you know, being backed by the NWA machine, like I really hope to see some cool stuff coming for the NWA. Like we look, they've got the Christmas at the Joe where the NWA world champion will be hopefully defending in Knoxville, Tennessee as part of the Joe Kazana Promotions December event. The upcoming events for the NWA, they have on December 5th, which is next Friday, there's going to be the Chicago event with the Polish Power Mario Pardua, Natalia Markova, the NWA JCP and NWA WLW champion Carson Drake, Bryan Idol, and 𝙍𝙒𝘋𝙍𝙍 will be out there in Chicago. Again, that's next Friday in Highland Park. And then on December 6th, the Saturday afterwards, you're going to see EC3, Dante Casanova, Richard Holiday, Marty Bell, La Princesa Tiffany Nieves, Brandon Beretta, Ryan Gosling, Pastor CeeLo, Pretty Boy Smooth, and more. Carson Drake will be part of the Exodus Pro event called Journey. Dante Casanova will defend the Midwest title against Richard Holiday. That should be a great match. Strictly Business Brandon Beretta's will put to test convoluted independent wrestling multi-match. What the hell? And then Marty Bell will be defending her title against La Princesa Tiffany Nieves, the Exodus Pro Women's Championship. WLW returns on December 13th. I would imagine there won't be a lot of NWA superstars from Power on that event because they'll be doing their tapings on the 13th as well. And of course, TSW, that's the Texas Style Wrestling, are also holding a TV taping on December 13th at the OC Theater, as well as a seminar with Rodney Mack, former NWA national champion, will be taking part of that. And then again on December 17th, Christmas and the JCP. And then NWA Crossfire is set for January 16th. And look at the names that are coming in for JCP on January 16th. They've got, they're not listing the names, but that's Chase Stevens and King James, as well as the Hunter and Serena Vale and the Page sisters. So that should be a big event too. A lot of cool stuff is happening for the NWA. A lot of stuff is coming up. Sorry, I needed to get some of that water. Let's see. Steve G says, it's still hard to believe we haven't gotten Tom versus Andrade. Andrade probably scared of Tom. Well, right now, I don't think we're going to see Andrade anywhere near a wrestling ring until his issues get resolved with the WWE. CWA was like a Mid-South promotion. I'm not sure. That was the promotion where Sting and I think Eddie Gilbert was also there, as well as the wrestler Jim Hellwig, who later become the Ultimate Warrior. I think it was Steve or Blade Runner Sting and Blade Runner Rock, which was Sting and the Ultimate Warrior eventually. But yeah, that's kind of where we're going here for the NWA. Again, things are getting really I think things are starting to heat up for the NWA now. Of course, we're at the end of the year, so there's only things to look forward to. There's not anything else really that's going to be so shocking or seen in at the end of 2025. It's already been filmed. So what we see next is hopefully we're going to see the return of the we'll see Saul win probably at the beginning of 2026, which we'll see matches like Cardona and Silas Mason for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. But it's going to be a slow burn to get there because there's tapings from Tampa and then Saul win, and so we're talking probably at least a month before that stuff gets to TV. So it kind of is inevitably what it is. But I guess what I'm most excited about is to see what's next for the NWA coming down the road, because you have guys like Silas Mason, 33 years old in the business. You've got Natalia Markova. She's not 33. She's a little bit older, but we haven't seen Markova get a real good run with the Women's Championship yet. So now's the time to see what's next for her. And then we have Tiffany Nieves, who's still the tag team champion and the women's television champion. What's going to be next for the Page sisters? Can Kenzie and Kylie get back on the same page? Are they going to go after the tag team titles? Is Kenzie going to try to make a run back at the women's world title? We don't really know. Switching gears, Slurp Juice says hopefully the mystery opponent for LA Knight is Cesaro. Don't hold your breath. I believe he's still under contract with AEW. And that's the thing to keep in mind. AEW still has these guys under contract. Just real quick, Claudio Castagnoli. According to Microsoft Bing, Claudio Castagnoli remains under contract with AEW and has a substantial amount of time left on his deal. AEW president Tony Khan has expressed his desire for him to stay with the promotion for a long time. Despite recent absences from programming, insiders confirm that his future with AEW is secure and he's considered a valued part of the roster. I don't see him leaving anytime soon, especially for a one-off with John Cena. As much as like we'd all like to see it, I'm just not going to hold my breath. Over on Twitch, what's up, Moonlight 1221? I hope you're having a good day. Let's see, Jamming Music Man, I hope you're having a good day as well. Happy Thanksgiving to you. And that Memphis territories, whether it be CWA or Memphis Wrestling or even today's Memphis Wrestling, I feel like Memphis has always been a hotbed for pro wrestling. Is it possible for the NWA to have a faster turnaround? Patrick, 100% it's possible. Like, look, we if you watch pro wrestling on any like platform, you can see the turnaround is there. Like, you know, AEW and WWE literally do tapings that night and they air live, right? It's possible. But is it likely? I don't know. We look at United Wrestling Network, Dave Marquez. Big fan of Dave Marquez, big fan of the United Wrestling Network, big fan of Championship Wrestling. They will film their episodes, 4 episodes in one night. 4 hours of TV, essentially. And the turnaround will be that same week. They film on a Tuesday. The first episode airs on Saturday. It's not hard to do that. It just takes people who know what they're doing. And I don't know why the NWA doesn't push to do this like the same way that the NWA does. That the United Wrestling Network does. They should literally be taping on the Saturday and a new episode on that Tuesday. It shouldn't take 3 months to get it figured out. But at that same time, they have so much in the can already that they're filming. There's no real rush to delay that. There's no real reason to not put to put that stuff out any faster. But you know, again, we are heading to 2026. It's going to be a new year. We've got a great set of champions. Our world's heavyweight champion, Thrillbilly Silas Mason, women's champion, Natalia Markova, world tag team champions, Odinson and Kratos, Alex Taylor, currently your NWA World Junior Heavyweight Champion. You've got your TV champion in Bryan Idol, your national champion in Mike Mondo. And I really feel like this is the year that we could see these talents rise to the occasion. Mike Mondo's out there working his ass off, putting promos out, putting vignettes and promotional material to get that national title more recognized. Of course, this is also the big WrestleCade weekend in the Carolinas, down North Carolina. If you guys are going, please let me know. I want to see results. I want to know what's happening down there at WrestleCade because we do see a lot of NWA talent, including the Page sisters. We know, I believe Mike Mondo is going to be down there. It's going to be a great weekend. And again, if it's Thanksgiving, time to be grateful, time to be thankful. And I'm thankful for you guys. Even though I'm starting to lose my voice because it's been 2 hours now. I'm grateful for you guys for making us a part of your regular viewing habits here on TikTok, on YouTube, on Twitch, on Kick. And we won't be here tomorrow night, or Thursday night. We won't be here Thanksgiving. We will be dark to celebrate the holiday with our families. But that doesn't mean that you guys won't be on my mind. And I do appreciate you guys hanging out with us every Tuesday and every Thursday for the last calendar year. You know, this is what we do here at the Alliance blog. So thank you so much for being a part of this week's show. Thank you so much for hanging out in the chat. Thank you so much for the commentary, both on TikTok and here on YouTube. I hope we entertained you guys. I hope you guys had a great time. Sam Retro, post those results in the Discord, and you can follow us at on our Discord at the Alliance blog. There is a link in the video description on our YouTube page. You can find us there. But that's going to do it for us this week, guys. Again, I appreciate you so much for hanging out with us. And until next time, we'll see you at the matches. Good night now. Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power.